The people brought up in the South, the poor people, not the educated, were very prejudiced. But I knew that. It wasn't new to me, except when I was younger. They beat up a black kid just because he was black. And they talk a certain way because they're brought up where people talk with that dialect. And if they talk with that dialect, they're usually prejudiced. You know what that means? Racist. And they don't like Japanese or foreigners because they feel foreigners are not like Americans. Americans are strong ego. You know what that means?
Yes.
I'm an American.
Yes.
I'm proud of it. I'm not a good American. I'm international in my point of view. I don't believe in any one country. I think all countries make good contribution. Leonardo da Vinci was Italian. Michelangelo, maybe same. And then Louis Pasteur was a Frenchman. The Wright brothers were Americans. So you got Galileo was Italian. So you got contributions from all nations to make any nation great. Can I have a glass of water?
Jacque, can you please summarize your methods of social work, major principles, how you approach people and change their values?
What people, how old? And children? Do you want children? How to change children?
All types of people. Children, most of all. Most interested about children.
Oh, hi.
Children are curious. You know, they want to know. So you answer their questions and ask them if they're satisfied with the answer. If they say no, say, what's the matter? Answer questions that children ask. Like, are black people stupid? Always answer them on it. Black people that associate with stupid black people become stupid. If a black person weaves the hair of the children like they do in Africa, that doesn't do any good. It doesn't improve the mind. You understand that? Wearing earrings does nothing.
Absolutely.
Sticking a thing through your lip does nothing for the person's brain. So we call that a nothing thing.
I understand.
You understand that? You have to learn what a nothing thing is. A nothing thing is hairstyles with all kinds of flowers on it. It's a nothing thing.
Yes, it's something that brings nothing to our survival and development.
Yes.
And can you please summarize maybe major principles of how you approach people and change their values?
I use instruments wherever possible. There's a metal called nitinol. It has a memory. Do you know that?
Yes, you demonstrate them.
I show that to people because they never expected a metal to have a memory. Then I show them other materials. A light pipe. You know what a light pipe is? It transmits information here on the end. So you can shove it up a person's behind and see cancer at the end. In the old days, you had to cut them open to look at the cancer to see how bad it was. Today, you can shove this light pipe down in the anus and see cancer without cutting them open. That's useful because they never expected that. Then you show them how a telescope makes the moon's craters big so you can see them. They used to think people lived on the moon. That was an opinion. No, nobody lives on the moon. No people. You have to say, I'm against the space program. As long as a single nation goes up there, they're going to try to dominate space with weapons of war up in space. And if they fight another war, it'll be in space.
But you know, Jacque, it was so in 60s and 70s. But now I am also learning scientific books on closed life support systems and different stuff. And now, in today's days, the situation changed dramatically. Space exploration are a platform for international collaboration. It's
Could
an
be.
aim uniting different
But
nations.
I'm against the space program until the nations learn to live together, then go off on a joint venture into space.
Yes.
But I'm afraid of any single nation going up there, because they're too stupid to use space for the benefit of everybody.
Yes,
They want
it
it
is.
to be Americanized. They want the moon to belong to America, to build a colony on the moon. That's American.
And today there is International Space Station. Many nations go there. Yes, and researchers of different nations, scientists, they work together there and bring collaboration. And scientists of different countries and just.
The War Department does not share all secrets of space.
Almost every venture into outer space in the United
Is
States
for the
is
military.
backed by the military.
And they don't want everybody to know everything.
And if they did a
They like to
collaborative,
keep it American.
if they did a collaborative venture on Earth and put that money toward making Earth better, you'd see a lot more results.
And as do I understand correctly that main methods or tool or approach how you change human values is demonstrating them some physical just experiments, things that they do not expect.
See.
Or through, like, Jacque uses the stories of examples of how he changed people. You can also use those stories to show other people how other people were changed. So if this gentleman here is a nationalist and he believes in his country, and we don't, we're past that. Okay?
And we are world citizens.
You can use some of Jacque's examples to him to say, this is how Jacque changed this person. That information allows him to see a different way of thinking. This changes him. So it's when you listen to Jacque's lectures, it's the examples that he's using that is the train of thought that you can use on other people to get them to change.
For example, if I meet an Arab and they say there's no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet, I say to the Arab, if you were raised in France as a baby, you would be a Frenchman. He can understand that. He says, maybe the way I was thinking is because I was brought up in the Arab world. If you're brought up in Australia, you're going to think like an Australian. Do you understand?
Yes.
Vive la Australia. Vive la France. So if I can take a person who says, I'm Russian, and the Russian people are jolly, oh, that's not true. The Russian people are whatever they are. Depends on where they're raised. If they're raised in a home where there's a lot of love, where Papa loves the children and Mama loves the children, and they don't fight, those children will be better adjusted than in a home where the parents fight. Do you understand? When parents fight, children feel insecure because they don't know where they're going to be together. But if Papa says to the children, there's a lot of things I don't know, and the children said, like what? I don't know what life is, I don't know medical terms. If you're level with your children, you make them smarter. But if you pretend to know everything, you make them stupid.
Absolutely.
So you have to tell your children what you don't know. And when the child says, is it good to be a Swede? Well, the Swedes are brought up to be proud of being a Swede. The Russians are brought up to be proud of being a Russian. We can't have that go on. We have to tell people that all people need clean air, clean water, good food, healthy exercise, and love. All people need the same thing, not different. If you bring up a kid without love, he has no love to give. Do you know what that means?
Yes.
If you favor one child above the other, you make jealousy. If I say, you can go to the movies, you can't because you didn't do your homework. When he falls down the stairs, you smile, because that's your sense of justice. It's wrong to treat any child better than the other child, no matter how old they are. If they're 4 years old and you prize them because they're younger, you play with them, and the old one you're not playing with, he feels rejected. So you always put the older kid on your lap and the younger kid and say, I love you both. Never use one kid against the other. Even if he does more wonderful things and you like it better, if you say, why can't you be like your brother? You make jealousy. So you can't favor any child. If you have 6 children, take them all for a walk and say, I love you all. But don't single anyone out. Even though they listen to you more, don't say you're better than he is. That's one way. Another way is expose them to science. They say, what is science? Science is a way where you learn how to say first, I don't know. That's the first thing you say. When they ask scientists, can you put a man on the moon? They said, we don't know. What do you mean you don't know? The government didn't understand that. So they say, we don't know what a man can stand. Still say, I don't know. So when you put a man in a spaceship, you can't take off at 500 miles an hour. They will die. Do you understand? So you have to put a sheep in there and launch it. And if it's still alive, you can figure out what you can do with a human. You don't know what a human can stand, so you put him in a thing and whirl him around. You ever see that? Fast. Then the guy, 9 times gravity, he faints. So you say you can't go faster than 8 times gravity, or 7 times. If you do that, the man will faint. You can't give a man a glass of water in a spaceship. If he does this, the water goes all over. It doesn't go down his throat. So you have to put it in a tube and squeeze it into his mouth. Do you know what I mean by rubber container or plastic that you squeeze? You can't have a man walk around in space. If he takes a shit, the shit doesn't go into the water. It sticks there on his behind. So he has to deal with that. And a man that doesn't do exercise in space becomes weak. So he must resist motion, either with a bicycle, with resistance, to keep the muscles going. But if he's out there too long, the body gives up calcium. The bones become weak. And if he's out in space, say, 6 months, he can't walk anymore. He has to practice walking and everything, because his body gets used to no weight. You know what I mean? So when scientists says, we don't know how long man can live. Can man go all the way to Mars and get out of the ship and walk around? No. It takes 3 months or so to get to Mars. So you have to do exercise. That's what I mean, we don't know what man can stand. So scientists are usually the first people to say, I don't know. The average person knows everything. You ask them, you think we'll ever get to the moon? No, not in 1,000 years. You tell people what the average person believes. Do you believe in God? Yes. The average person believes in God because they're made to believe in God, because they don't know how to make people honest. They really don't know. So they say, if you steal, God can see right through the room. He can see everything you do, so you better do the right thing. So they teach them a lot of false notions about God. They say God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Did you ever hear that? That others might have eternal life and not perish. When you think about eternal life, that means you never die when you go to heaven, if you carry out the teachings of Jesus. And if you're 100,000 years old up there, you never talk to anybody anymore because you've heard it all. What would you do? What would you do if you're 200,000 years old and a girl says, look, I'm engaged? You said, I've heard that shit for years. It's nothing new. So living forever could be the most painful experience. Do you understand that? And if God knows everything, he wouldn't sacrifice his Son for people because they'd kill him, and he won't send his Son down. So God must be very cruel to send Jesus to the earth where he gets crucified. So God's supposed to know everything, and he gets mad. God gets mad, according to the Bible. He was going to flood the earth, and he told Noah to build an ark and put 2 kinds of every animal on there. He wanted Noah's family to build the ark. It would be 1 mile long. Where did he get the polar bear and the giraffe from? Did he go to Africa? It doesn't say that. But let's assume they did. Who cleans the shit out of the boat? There's a lot of shit in that boat. And it's impossible. And if God made everybody and he said to Noah, I'm going to drown everybody, build yourself an ark, it says in the Bible, he's all loving, all caring. How come he drowns everybody?
So you make people think by asking such questions that they understand that their notions and beliefs are nonsense.
It doesn't always work though. Once I asked a priest why he believed in God, and he said because he does wonderful things. I said, like what?
Yes,
He said, well, he makes it rain to make the plants grow. So I raised my hand. I say, why does it rain in the ocean? There's no plants there.
I know the story.
So the priest got mad at me. He didn't learn anything. But if he was honest, he'll say, I don't know why it rains in the ocean. I don't know. And why did he hit me? Because I embarrassed him in the classroom. When people tell me that nature is harmonious, you know what that means? Nature is nice, but every fish is eating every other fish that they can catch. Nature has earthquakes that kill millions of people. Nature isn't always nice. It's cruel too. Do you agree?
Yes.
So don't let anybody get away with nature is beautiful.
Can I say one thing? Part of the understanding of the Venus Project is to take the stories and think about how you can apply those to certain people. So for example, Jacque was talking just then about nature being beautiful and being harmonious. You may meet someone that believes in a higher consciousness or that believes that nature is harmonious. You can use these stories on these people so that they can see a different way of thinking about what they believe in. So I believe nature is harmonious. So you talk to me about hurricanes and about tornadoes killing people and about earthquakes destroying homes and destroying cities. Now I can see nature isn't so harmonious as what I thought it was.
So, even if there are no such stories maybe one jokes for such type of people. I can imagine such
You
a
can
story,
make your own, yeah.
or find such a story that shows them that they have
Absolutely.
faced by their experience that it is not so.
Absolutely.
Ah.
And that's the train of, that's when we talk about the train of thought, that's what we mean, is to learn how to adapt stories or events that you know about that may help that person to see things a different way. And that's what Jacque does with his stories.
And one person.
Is it to arrange a car out there?
I think we need to be at the airport at 2. I think the flight's at 2:30.
Their flight is at 2:30.
One wife.
308.
Have you ever lived in Arabia? I don't know. The guy can have 10 wives. It's a different culture. They all believe they're right. Einstein says we cannot see the world as it is, only as we interpret it. If you're in a train, and 2 trains are moving on both sides, it looks like you're moving. If you're in the middle and 2 trains are moving and yours is stationary, you will think your train is moving. So Einstein says it depends on your position. You know what a giraffe is? When a giraffe looks at a dog, he says it's very little. When a mouse looks at a dog, he says it's very big. They're both telling the truth from their own point of view. There's no such thing as truth. Depends on your point of view, where you're standing. Einstein says we cannot see the world as it is, only as it appears to us. Like if you tell a person you can make a telephone without a wire, cell phone, that's not possible. You have to have a wire connected. The person cannot conceive of that. You have to help them conceive of that. If you take a coil of wire and you run a current through it from a battery, you put another coil nearby, not connected, it'll induce current in that. Did you know that?
Yes.
It's called induction. So, did Tesla invent the wireless, or did he have one coil near another and he noticed that?
Yes, he noticed.
I don't think man can think of anything new without having experience. For example, if it's windy and you're standing at the edge of a mountain and the wind blows hard enough to blow you off, if you stand on a sailboat and a windy day, the boat moves. If you open your coat, it'll move faster. A boat cannot sail. It's acted on by the wind. A ball does not roll down a hill. Gravity pulls it down. Everything man talks about, he never says how. He says the ball is rolling down the hill. The clouds are moving. Clouds don't move. The wind moves the clouds. That's the truth. So you ask the person, you believe in being truthful and honest. He said, yes. You know, a thief is a man who takes something from you without your permission. Do you understand? So when we won the war with Germany, we kidnapped the German scientists and brought them to this country and took their rockets and airplanes and studied them. That's thievery, according to our own definition. So, according to our own definition, we're crooks and liars. The politicians, the Democrats at least, and the Republicans lie about each other. They say President Obama wasn't even born in this country. That's a lie. And they tell as many lies as they can to win the election. So I do not admire politicians. But if a scientist finds out something, another scientist has to get the same results if he does the same thing. If a man builds an airplane with the wings that are too small, it won't get off the ground. So he keeps making them a little larger and larger until it gets off the ground. My kid said to me, when he was 4 years old, he said, what makes an airplane fly? Is it the propeller? I said, if the engine doesn't turn that propeller, it won't turn. Is it the engine? No. If you don't put fuel in the engine, it won't turn. Does that make sense? Is it the fuel? If there's no oxygen, the fuel won't burn. Is it the oxygen? No. It's many interacting variables. If a guy says, what made him a criminal? This, that, no. Many different things make you a criminal, not one thing. Now, if you want to make a doctor, you have to send them to a school where they teach medicine. You want to make an engineer, you send them to an engineering university. You don't send them to the neighbors. You don't ask your neighbor, do you think we'll ever get to the moon? The neighbor says, no, we can't get to the moon. He's talking about his own limitations. If your neighbor was honest, he'd say, I don't know, how do I know whether we'll ever get to the moon? I don't know. That's the truth. If you say man will always have war, he's always had war in the past, and he'll always have war in the future. That's your opinion. It's better to say, I don't know. That's honest. So people have answers to a lot of questions. They think some people are good, some are bad, some are lazy, some are hardworking. None of those things are true. I can make a man lazy or hardworking. The way you make a person good, what you call good, is by walking over to a child and say, thanks for helping mother with the dishes. I appreciate that. Would you like to go to a movie? Do something nice for the kid. But if he washes all the dishes, then you say, when you're through, clean the curtains. When you're through with that, sweep out the room. And never pat him on the back. He'll hide when he sees you coming. You're a lazy bastard. Nobody's lazy.
How do you make people hardworking?
Hardworking. You reward them for what they do. Say, it's a wonderful thing you did the other day, cutting the lawn. You saved your father a lot of trouble, and he can do other things. So thank you very much. Thank people for whatever they do. If you don't do that, they don't feel like they're doing something good. You must reward people. If you take a dog, and the dog happens to put one paw up there, if you give him fresh liver, he may put the paw up there after 10 times. You do that. If you feed him. But if the dog steps through a loop, you know what a loop is? If you hold it and the dog goes, give him a dog biscuit. And if he does it again, give him another dog biscuit. But don't, if you do nothing, nothing will happen with a dog. So same with a human being. They do things that they get reward for. Pat them on the back, say that was a nice thing you did. Like if my kid breaks candy and he got the biggest piece, he keeps it for himself, and he gives a small piece to a friend, don't bother with that. But if he gives the biggest half to a friend, say, why did you do that? Well, I didn't want to appear greedy. If you pat him on the back for what he does, that's good. If he says, I'm leaving, I'm going to turn the lights on because I'm not going to be in the room, I don't need the lights, he might save you electric bills. If a kid says, Daddy, I want to get a fight with the other boy, say, if you win the fight, what does that prove? What does that do? He only makes that person resentful. You know what that means? If I don't like something you say and I punch you, that doesn't make you my friend. It makes you fear me. If I say to you, let's build a log cabin. Let's say I live in a community with 10 people. It might take me 4 months to build a house. But if they help me, it might take 2 weeks.
And Jacque, how do you make people to find happiness from creating and contributing others in themselves? How to make them self-motivated, initiative, just not someone kicks them, but they do it themselves without direction from something.
Okay.
Just got pleasure from creativity and contributing the society, the world. How do you do this?
Oh, I have a way of making a school, and in that school they build an automobile, but it can't be built unless 4 kids pick up the car and 2 put the wheels on. It won't go together unless you cooperate. Now, when they finish the car, the kid wants to drive it, a little car. So he drives it for 2 minutes, then he's supposed to get out and let another kid drive it. But he says the 2 minutes aren't up. So we put an electronic unit in the seat. If he's sitting there for 2 minutes, the engine cuts out. So he doesn't say, I want to drive it more. He has to get out and let another kid drive it. Then it cuts out in 2 minutes, automatically. You have to automate things so that a person's greed doesn't pay off. If greed pays off, if I punch you and eat the chocolate cake, that's good for me. But if I punch you and the chocolate cake is not dispensed, it's only if I treat you well does the chocolate cake come out. In other words, if you behave badly, things don't work out. Like, say that you know what a bully is? A bully is a guy that punches little kids, takes advantage of them. So if we see a bully, we put a special clothing on him. And when I punch you, you feel the pain. Do you understand?
Excuse me.
So a kid doesn't want...
I think our interview for 6 o'clock is here now. I'm not sure if it's that or not.
Okay.
Okay, well,
Is that,
Oh, no,
is
it's
that the
not.
end
I
of
had
it?
no idea.
Okay. What do you want, Roxy?
Nothing. I was just going to say, I think the interview at 6 is here and we would have to clear it out. But do you want a break before 6 o'clock, Sean?
No, it doesn't matter. Murder and kill are people that have not been rewarded. And Papa says, you're lazy and good for nothing. You're good for nothing. After a while, a kid believes that, and he doesn't care about society. Does whatever he wants to do. But all human behavior is learned. You're not born bad unless you have brain damage. And if you're born with brain damage, you need hospitalization, not prison. That in the future there'll be no police and no prisons. Because everybody will have access to whatever they need. Now people can't picture that. So I go back to the public library. Women march to get a library so that poor people who couldn't afford books can check out any book at the library. Once you make books available, people don't steal books. They don't break your window and take your books if they can get it free from the library without money. Next door to the library, I have a camera center with all kinds of cameras just like the library. You go in there and say, I want to check out this camera, but I don't know how to use it. They'll show you how to use it, and they'll say, how long do you want it? You say 3 weeks. All right, when you're through, bring it back to the library. So next door to that, I have musical instruments. You like to play saxophone, you can check out a saxophone or a lute or drums. Do you understand? If you make things available, people do not steal. But they must be available, not after long 6 weeks of waiting. It has to be available like the library every day. and people are neither good nor bad. I trained a dog to lead the blind, a police dog, big one, and it would lead the blind so he didn't have to walk with a stick. And a woman walked over, about 65 or so, and she said, "What a nice dog." I said, "No, the dog is not nice. I could have trained that dog to tear soldiers to pieces or lead the blind. It depends on the way you bring up the dog. If children beat dogs, the dog growls when he sees children. If they give it food, he wags his tail. So if you treat a dog nicely, giving it food or liver or something that the dog likes, they're more apt to be happy around people. But if every time you see a dog you kick it, when it sees you it'll growl." Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You have to reward good behavior, and that's the way you train animals. If I hold a dog down and I say sit, and I move away a little bit, and he gets up a little bit, I don't do it. I hold him down and I give him a little bit of a dog a biscuit. Not too much, a little bit. So he stays down there and he looks at me. And if he stays there, I give him a dog biscuit. And I walk further away, he's still staying, I come back, give him a dog biscuit. But if you don't do anything, the dog does whatever he wants to do. Now if a dog happens to do this, and you give him fresh liver, you can get a dog to walk around like that on two legs, holding his hands like that, if you know what to do. Now if a child has a box of candy and he offers candy to a lot of kids, you say, "It's very nice of you to do that." He may feel good and be more inclined to be generous. But if he eats all the candy himself and you don't do anything, he becomes selfish. Selfish is made. All criminals have been called stupid, backward, dumb. And if you go to prison and you talk to a prisoner, he says, "I'm a 3-time loser. I've been in jail before." I would say, "So what?" He says, "I'm a born criminal," what they tell me. I say, everybody's a criminal in this system. If you sing a song and sell cigarettes, you're doing damage to people. Do you understand that? If you do commercial television, you say, "Take aspirin when you get a headache." You're paid for doing that. You're a criminal, social criminal. It's not real. If you marry the most beautiful girl, in your opinion, and she turns out to be a terrible person, that face becomes ugly to you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
No?
And I also, I just reminded one important thing. Just when you were translated on the conference and with Lecturing Institute, the translator was awful. She just she didn't understand what you were talking about. She did a lot of changing even the meaning, misunderstanding very a lot. It was almost, she even sometimes translated, she didn't understand and translated. Jacque says one thing and she says opposite, quite opposite thing. It was so awful translation, because I heard Jacque in English and what she translated, it was just
There were two of them. Was another one better?
I'd like to hear. When scientists found out the Earth was round, they didn't say it's a little round and a little flat, then you get along with everybody. But you have to say the Earth is not flat, it's round. You have to show them why you believe that. And an Arab said to me, "Look at the ocean, it's straight, there's no round. If the world is round, man would fall off here." So you have to show him static electricity. He never saw it, where you rub a balloon and things stick to it. He learned something new. You have to teach people how to think. Don't assume.
Just telling them doesn't always work. Sometimes you need to show them. With Jacque, if Jacque just said to the Arab, "The world is round," No, it's flat. No, the world is round because blah blah blah. No, it's flat. We can see it's flat. He had to show them. Didn't make sense.
Now, if I say man never invented anything new, everybody disagrees. Because they say that man invented the camera. There was a time when there was no camera. Somebody had to think of it, they said. So I said no. In the old days they made houses out of clay. You know what that means?
Jacque.
Mud.
Jacque, don't know that one. Do you want to break now? Because you've got your interview at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
We'll have a little break now.
Well, man sees things in nature and learns. And if he doesn't observe nature correctly, if he says animals fight, cows don't fight because there's enough grass for everybody. And animals that eat other animals fight each other because there's not that many animals. If everybody had access to the necessities of life, they would not hurt one another. It's only because they live in scarcity. You know what that means?
Yeah.
You save up for a rainy day. Scarcity means not having enough. So parents put money in the bank in case they lose their job. But if you could never lose your job, you wouldn't put money in the bank. And if nations, if nobody ever stole anything from you, you wouldn't put bars on your windows. You put bars on the windows because you don't want people to climb in and take your things.
Jacque, we have to cut
We need to
because,
stop now.
like in 5 minutes, I don't know whether we have to be there or whether, downstairs or whether they're
Just
coming up
remember,
here to another room.
reward good behavior and don't pay attention to a screaming kid. My kid used to scream and my wife would go in the room. I said, whenever he screams, never go in the room because he believes screaming brings you in the room. So when the room is quiet, go in. So if you go in when he's making a lot of noise,
It'll always make a lot of noise.
reinforcing noise, high noise level. And children crave attention because they do a lot of things. There used to be an old man who had a chimp. You know what a chimp is? Up in the attic. Go up in the attic and shake the building. And he says, come down, come down. And the chimp would never shake the building. So I said, pay no attention to him. Don't look at the chimp when he shakes the building. Just go about looking at you. He'll shake the building more. And don't look up. Then he'll come down and put his arm around you.
Well,
Children do things.
That's a story hardly anyone has heard.
What?
That's a story not many people have heard about the chimpanzee in the roof.
A lot of stories he doesn't tell
Just
anymore.
ignore him. Just ignore him. Eventually he got bored. He come down and stopped making
Ты
noise.
делаешь видео?
Да, делаю.
Works with children too.
Один вопрос. Я занимаюсь аэропоникой. Какие бы советы они дали? Вот если у меня установка, у меня лаборатория есть, уже все растет, но вот сейчас я развиваю и хочу вот с гидропоники на аэропонику перейти, ну хотя есть. Занимаюсь аэропоникой, какие могут дать советы?
Вообще?
Куда двигаться?
Вообще.
Да, вектор.
Ivan, he does aeroponics, hydroponics. He is a scientist, and he asked what?
Ну, университет,
Yes, ecology, and he asked, what can you advise to him? Yeah.
In what area?
Какой области?
Защита растений.
Совет о чем хочешь?
Куда двигаться? Какие растения выращивать? Какие виды?
He wants to advise just where to move, what types of plants to use, maybe some.
The internet would have more information for that.
Yeah, I mean, automation is where we need to get. We need to develop automated food systems.
Human behavior. Behavior is
We don't want people.
Dinner.
Hard work.
Look at our
Everybody has
website.
food.
Our website has a list of books.
I have read group together.
And
Human behavior is lawful.
You make lots of
and
money.
obeys laws.
The Venus Project. Do the city.
and one more, just Jacque Fresco I want to say one thing. I think, Jacque, maybe please. Wait a minute. Just.
You'll have to tell us on the way down there.
On the way down there. Oh, great.
Because they've got an interview. Пора уже.
Just the development and the achievements of Jacque during his
Very
life
exciting.
Andrew, can we meet with you after?
We're going to be with the interview and then we've got to get something to eat and stuff.
After the interview, can we meet with you?
It's a bit difficult tonight, but we've got to get ready for tomorrow. We fly out in the evening, so it's,
Can